This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
The biggest icon in podcasting.
Welcome in, everybody, to this week's episode of the DocNJock Wrestling Podcast. I'm your host, Adam the Jock Strozinski. On today's show, we've got a ton to get into, but it's back and it's being used harder than ever. We've got a big name in WWE that has been added to a list of upcoming free agents, and AEW and WWE possibly sharing. We're going to get into that, as well as some major AEW and WWE stars sidelined, as well as this WWE star got caught getting high. What? We're going to get to all of it. We're going to break it all down. Big week in WWE, big week in AEW. Help me sort through all of it and make sense of some of the unsensical things that went on this week. Is the one, he is the only, he is the Doc, John Macaroon. What's up, cuz?
Big returns, big promos, major injuries, WWE taking shots at AEW in commentary, a lot of inside info, a lot of good stuff going on this week, man. Wrestling has been on fire. You would think that obviously it's December and you would kind of trend toward closing the year off and slow down a little bit, but nope, AEW, WWE, firing on all cylinders, really going at it. And, man, it's just crazy to see. You got the Von Erichs doing their thing in AEW. You got feuds and major angles developing on WWE. It's been a wild December when everybody's kind of ramping down their year. It seems like pro wrestling has ramped way up.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, it's been all gas, no break for really WWE for a couple of weeks now. And I think we really punched the gas this week with CM Punk and Seth Rollins. Look, CM Punk signs to Raw. I don't think it was a big surprise to anybody. I think we all knew this was coming, especially after Randy Orton signs on SmackDown. You know CM Punk's going to end up on Raw. Also, we've got this building feud with Seth Rollins, so you know it only makes sense. But Seth Rollins interrupts CM Punk's promo, which I want to talk about these promos because I thought this was good. I thought this added a layer of gasoline to what has been something that's been burning for a minute. First, I want to go into CM Punk's promo. I thought it was good. I thought it kind of rambled a little bit. Again, they're giving him a lot of time, which is good, which is great for him, right? These are things that he wanted. He's getting a ton of time. I don't know if he's being the most efficient with his time, though. I think this is his third promo, and out of his three promos, I really liked one. The last two out of the three have kind of fallen a little bit flat for me. What did you think of this promo from CM Punk? Because I think the response from Seth Rollins is what everybody is talking about. But what did you think of CM Punk's promo, where he basically comes out and he signs and gives over his contract to Adam Pearce and says, look, I'm a Raw guy now?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think intentionally it was made so that Seth could shine and really get off what he needed to say. And boy, I thought the stare down was spectacular. CM Punk, yeah, I just thought that, I think you and I were texting, 3 to 4 minutes, a little too long. It needs to be crisp. And I think that's what happens when you give someone a live mic and they're forced to kind of think on the fly, is to come up with ideas to move the story forward, to make his decision. I thought it could have been done a lot faster. But look, man, CM Punk is popular. People want to see what they want to see. And the second that he said Raw, Seth music hit, and it was delivered perfectly. It was what everybody wanted to see, and it was a stare down of all time. It was interesting in that WWE is kind of taking a page from AEW. It felt like CM Punk saying that you all still chanted my name and loved me even though I was gone. He kind of said the same thing at AEW, and then Seth Rollins saying to CM Punk, I'm going to defend this company from you. It's literally the same thing that Adam Page said to CM Punk. So I just thought it was funny because you and I and Kenny debated that AEW dropped the ball in making money. WWE's like, oh, this is a good story they had there. Let's just try and repeat it, but we can do it with bigger stars. And maybe we can actually deliver, because it is funny on SmackDown, all the inside jokes about being scared and fighting and all that kind of stuff. It is interesting if you're paying attention. But yeah, I do think for CM Punk, he's great on the microphone. We all love what he can do, but it doesn't need to be like one extreme or the other. It's not like you just give the guy the microphone and just say, go out there and say whatever. You need to have a little bit more control, not word for word script, but bullet points. Go from A to B to C. Bullet points. Go from A to B to C and wrap it up. And the unlimited time thing. Listen, man. I mean, when you get 35 million views on Twitter, 100 million views, and all those sales, they're like, fuck it, just go do whatever you want. And I get it, but no, in terms of television entertainment, tighten it up, baby.
Yeah, and then like you said, the big talking point was Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins, like you said, interrupts. Basically, as he says, Monday Night Raw comes down, and I think the line that had everybody is where Seth Rollins is like, "Don't you dare call this place your home," and he goes on to say, "With every fiber of my being, I hate you." And they were very cutting words, and they were very parsed, and they were very, very sharp words, and they had a lot of passion behind them. They had a lot of emotion behind them. This feud feels. And a lot of it is being done by Seth Rollins. This feud feels very real. This does not feel like it's a WWE script. Now, look, I think there's a little bit of real life heat here. I think there is a little bit of animosity between these two. I don't think it is as big as it is being blown up to be this storyline that we've got, but Seth Rollins is doing a fantastic job tapping into whatever emotion he has, tapping into whatever anger he has and angst he has for CM Punk, because it feels so real coming from him. I need CM Punk to kind of pick it up a little bit and get to that same level, because Seth Rollins makes this feel like it's a blood feud and he wants to kill him. What did you think of Seth Rollins' promo? Because I thought it was fantastic.
Oh, absolutely. It makes you want to watch and see the feud of the year, wherever it may end up. And it obviously leads to CM Punk joining the Rumble and just him saying, okay, then I might just pick you. But once the opportunity will present itself for CM Punk to speak on Seth Rollins, other than insulting him about Becky Lynch, I think it'll provide the opportunities. And you're right. These promos are intended to shine a light on one individual. But can you imagine when Seth is cutting it and CM Punk going back and forth at the same time? I mean, it's WWE. It's probably going to be in the context of a contract signing. But when those two get on the microphone and go toe-to-toe, it's going to produce magic. And you just can't, like I said, you can't give everybody everything they want right away. So what they did was they highlighted Seth Rollins. They established his why. This is why I'm mad. This is what I'm going to do to you, and here we go. And CM Punk's retort obviously was just, okay, now then I have an opportunity. I'm going to plant the seed that, okay, if you're mad at me, then if I win the Royal Rumble, then I'm going to have an opportunity to decide, and everybody knows that he's going to decide to play to face off against Seth Rollins.
Yeah, this is going to be a lot of fun. And the cool thing about it is we're in mid-December right now, and these guys are pretty much going to build through the next month and a half. This is going to be a lot of fun. I don't think these guys really get tangled up in the ring until after the Royal Rumble. I think we're going to have these weird feuds. CM Punk's going to have his first match at a live show against Dominic Mysterio. That's coming up in a couple of days. But you probably aren't going to see these two guys really lock up in the ring until after the Royal Rumble, and that's when we're going to kind of get the wheels in motion here. And look, I'm telling you, these two are going to face each other at WrestleMania. That's going to be the story, and it's going to be a good time. I'm just wondering if it's going to be night one or night two that these two guys end up main eventing. But this is going to be one of your main events for WrestleMania, and we're going to get a long-term build. You're going to get to see a lot of different sides of both of these guys. It's going to be a lot. It's going to be a lot of fun. I thought we had another pretty fire promo, and this one came from Seth Rollins' wife, Becky Lynch. She ends up calling out Nia Jax, and she digs deep into her bag, and she pulls out the moment that really cemented her when Nia Jax blew her nose open and knocks her out in the ring. This was, about 5 years ago, maybe 6 years ago. Becky ends up waking up in the ring and realizes that the story's got to go on. She takes the blood, smears it all over her face, and she stands in the crowd as they head to Survivor Series. and the man was born. And Becky was never hotter than right there. Everybody fell in love with her. And I thought they had a really nice back and forth, and I thought this set up nicely for what's going to be an interesting match. Becky used a lot of real life things that get said, talking about how Nia Jax hurts everybody in the ring and how she really shouldn't be there. Nia Jax basically told that Becky that she made her, like if it wasn't for that, you wouldn't be anything. I thought this was a really interesting promo. I thought this was good. I thought it was given its time. I'm going to need Nia Jax to bring it in the ring, though. I want to know what your thoughts are about this match going forward and what you thought about this promo.
I'm just worried for the health of Becky Lynch. Is she going to survive this feud? Yeah. Or is she going to end up another victim of Nia Jax? And I just thought it was cutting. It was great. And you're really sensing WWE is morphing into closing up stories, really telling stories that people want to see, and really highlighting those feuds that potentially have the added element of realism. And realism sells, and I think it's funny, too, that they bring up stuff that the internet wrestling community talks about. And what's the biggest thing that Adam, Kenny, the internet wrestling community, the IWC as it's termed, what do they talk about? That's just how dangerous Nia Jax is. And to hear Becky Lynch, the man, say, "You're the most dangerous woman in the history of the wrestling business," I thought it was great. I thought it was a great line, and it stung. And that's the best, is when these issues are brought up. AEW did it for several years, and WWE really, like I said, maybe it's finally Triple H getting the creative control fully, where he doesn't have to reach back and have to answer to anybody, where he can say, yeah, the best angles, the best talk, the best television is when we can bring up issues that have taken place, and Triple H is the man. And that's why I think that WWE has really taken off, is that listen, for all it's worth, Vince McMahon, did bumps and things like that, but he was never a full-time wrestler. He never had the vision of a guy that was in the business trying to get himself over. Triple H had that. He was hungry. He had the situations in which he was sent down the card, moved up the card, been a jobber with been a horrible gimmick, working his way up, becoming a megastar, and then morphing into an executive. He's really done it all, so he can see things from a myriad of perspectives, and he knows what people like. I mean, he's obviously tapped in to social media. He knows what people are saying, and he knows, that he's watching AEW, watching New Japan, watching all the indies, seeing what hits, what doesn't. He has a council of people, all wrestlers. So now it's being shown in the ring. And why? It's producing good television. Why do you need to produce good television? Because you got to kind of shake that ass a little bit for those TV distributors so that you can get your ass on TV a little bit more. And I think you and I saw it like a year and a half, 2 years ago, where we just would say, man, Raw is kind of mailing it in. It's just cookie cutter. They do a match. Yep. They set up a tag match. It set up another match. It's so, like, we literally could write the show beforehand. We knew what was coming. Now there's the added element of surprise, and there's so much more to it. And the promos are so much better. They tightened it up. They let the wrestlers kind of add something to it. And when you let Becky Lynch cut into Nia Jax, it can only make for good entertainment. And hey, all you can say is, I want to see a match that features Nia Jax in it, man. That's what they're doing.
Yeah, right. When have you ever said that? When have you ever said that? You haven't ever.
Never done.
Yeah, no. Overall, I thought Raw was pretty good. Was there anything else from Raw that really stood out to you?
Well, the Creeds are the heroes of the day. They saved everybody.
Everybody.
They saved everybody. It was interesting. Again, they just gotta dress better. Just wear all black. Wear something different. The mismatch is weird, but I'll say this. Cody Rhodes and Nakamura having that corny finish, I get it. I liked it. I like to see new, fresh matches that have the potential to build. This version of Nakamura is cool, the ultimate heel. And to me, like I said, I can't. When you see Cody, man, the way he looks, he just kind of has that old feel of his dad when Muda was there. When I first started wrestling, first watched wrestling on Saturday nights, and you're a kid, and you'd see the dingy screen, and it was WCW Saturday Night, and Jim Ross would be highlighting Muda and the craziness that dude presented, and the fear that he would bring to Lex Luger and Ric Flair and all the dudes there. So it has the old feel of like, oh man, this dude is scary, and it's interesting in regards to Cody Rhodes and the ability that he's going to have moving forward to just wrestle these new people. And I think new heels are great. Drew McIntyre doing his thing. I think the opportunities that you're seeing with the mid card has also been well. Like, women's tag team and the tag team stuff, not really, obviously, R-Truth and the Judgment Day is good. I thought that was really delivered well, where R-Truth really kind of told some jokes that got people laughing. And I thought when he goes, guys, I think we should get rid of J.D. McDonough. And the crowd popped.
That was so funny.
That was funny because
so funny.
It was like just a funny segment. And then obviously Damian Priest, I thought, handled that well to knock over the threat. And I thought that was great.
His line was so well delivered.
It was great. It was great.
He's got it not crack when R-Truth gives his punchline, and then he's got to be able to go through and deliver the rest of his lines and then execute on it. I thought it was done well.
Yeah, Raw I thought was really special. It was fast paced. It needed to hit what it needed to hit, and it was really well done. I enjoyed Raw. If you missed it, go check it out. There was not a lot of bad segments, but things you could move through. But I thought Raw delivered this week in terms of each segment having a purpose.
Yeah, it was a very good Monday Night Raw. I thought we got a very good Friday Night SmackDown as well. The only thing about SmackDown, I was left a little bit confused by the ending, and we're going to get to that because we had a return of a major star.
Yeah,
but just a little bit confused as to what's going on with his storyline. Before all of that, the show kicks off, and we have this opening promo between Roman and Randy. And I want to get your sense on what you took away from this, because watching this promo unfold in front of me, you can see two pros going at it, right? Randy Orton's been sidelined for over 18 months. Roman Reigns hasn't been on our TV screen in about 2 or 3. And these guys basically step foot day one, and they have a conversation with each other, and they instantly get me interested in their match. I want to see this match. I want to see Randy Orton. I want to see Roman Reigns at the Royal Rumble. I can't wait for it to happen. These guys sold me with their back and forth, and with a little bit of head games and mind games that Randy Orton was playing with Roman Reigns in the very, very beginning, trying to execute the RKO, built him up as the legend. And what is he? He is the legend killer. I thought it was all fantastic. It was all well delivered, and it got you interested. Again, these two guys operating at the highest level. And this is what happens when you are at the highest level. You guys can get 10 minutes and get me sucked in for a match that isn't going to happen for another 45 days. So I want to know what you thought about these two guys kind of just laying the groundwork for what is to come, because we end up seeing this pop its head back up a little bit later on in the evening.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought that Roman Reigns is definitely an attraction. You wanted to see him. I got excited to see him have his entrance, his 4 minutes to get to the ring. Look, to me, it's different in that I'm not looking forward to the match because I know that Randy Orton has no chance of winning. So that kind of sucks in that you got to build, and Randy Orton really is not a transitional feud. But what's exciting is what's going to happen from now until the match. And I think the line that was really wise and put in was, I'm going to work to destroy you because of what you did. You put me on the shelf for 18 months. I'm going to ruin everything that your bloodline is about. So that means there's opportunities in the future that after maybe Roman loses to Cody, after Roman Reigns loses his belt, the opportunity can be for Randy to get some closure and handle a big situation moving forward. So it might go beyond the Royal Rumble. But just looking at it, Randy Orton is so buff that he can almost dwarf a little bit what Roman looks like. Yeah. And Roman's not small.
It's crazy.
It is crazy. So I'm interested to see what Roman does. The sneak attacks, the sneak RKOs, those are going to be fun. But it just stinks because, Randy's a legend, and he's not going to kill he's not going to kill Roman Reigns right now. But the opportunities that he's going to have to fight the bloodline, fight solo, fight, and get in the ring and have talks with Paul Heyman will also be interesting. So again, and it's the right time, like I said, for Randy Orton to be in the upper echelon. You don't bring Randy Orton back to put him in a tag team. You put him in for main event stories and big time moments. And Daddy's back, and I think the connotation is too, I'm back in the main event picture, which is where he needs to be.
Well, speaking of buff dudes that showed up, Alan Neil Jones popped up on our TV screens. And if you don't know who that is, that's AJ Styles. AJ Styles looks fantastic. Looks like him and Randy Orton have been lifting together. I don't know if I've ever seen AJ Styles look this ripped and this buff. But he returned. And if you remember, we haven't seen AJ Styles in forever. There's been a lot of talk about him coming back. He's been sitting back and catering for a couple of weeks now, maybe a month and a half now. And they're waiting for the right moment to put him on our TV screens. And remember, AJ Styles was taken out by the bloodline. taken out by Solo Sikoa and taken out by, I do want to say it was Jimmy Uso. I don't remember if it was Jimmy or Jay. I believe it was Jimmy, though. They were taken out. He was taken out. He was sidelined. He was shelved. So he returns, and he attacks the Bloodline. But he also attacked LA Knight. I like seeing the three of these guys in the ring. I didn't understand the attack on LA Knight. Can you help me out here? Can you tell me where this is going? Because I do not know why AJ Styles attacked LA Knight. And then he basically walked right past the Bloodline. And I don't know if he was putting the Bloodline on notice or what. I was very confused by the ending of Friday Night SmackDown. I thought it was great to see AJ Styles. He looks fantastic. I liked him helping turn the tide for Randy Orton and for LA Knight, who were getting beat down by the Bloodline. But I just didn't get AJ Styles punching LA Knight. I don't know where we're going with this.
Well, at the basic level, you get the most heat when you attack one of the hottest stars. And the one that looks the most appealing to set off a feud would be LA Knight, AJ Styles. And that's perfect because AJ Styles now is in a role where you need guys to elevate other guys. And so who's going to elevate LA Knight? Who's he going to beat? Who's he going to feud with? Because he's not going to be in the title picture. He's now been kind of aligned a little bit, getting a little bit of rub from Randy Orton, which is great. Kind of being the guy to stand toe-to-toe with him and talk to him and say, hey, look, I'm here to help. We have a common interest. So you needed a heel. SmackDown was kind of moving away a little bit. You got some really, awesome faces. So you needed a heel. And I think that it's great. 3 months off for anybody is amazing, especially for a 46-year-old in AJ Styles. And I was just saying when I saw the highlight, I saw it when it happened. I said, yes, where's AJ Styles? This would be perfect for him to get in the mix right now, heading into the Royal Rumble. Maybe thought that he would re-debut there, but you realize, holy cow, yeah, he put in the time, put in the work, and now it's interesting. And for whatever reason, we'll soon find out why. Maybe it's jealousy. Maybe it's seeing that, hey, you're stepping into a spot that was rightfully mine, and things like that. And kind of the common things, or there's maybe something that happened in a match that rubbed AJ the wrong way. But whatever it is, I think a heel AJ right now is perfect. A little bit more edge, a little bit more of the roots that we had when he was in New Japan and things like that. Him as a face is fine, but he's never going to hit the status of a Cody Rhodes at this point in his career. So at 46, the perfect thing for AJ Styles is to be a heel, be the foil to the likes of LA Knight and cost him opportunities and things like that, Kevin Owens and stuff like that. So I can't wait to see it. And yeah, he absolutely looks ripped. And hey, listen, 3 months is a long time, man. You take 2 weeks off, you get stir crazy, and then you hit the gym. If you work out 5 days a week for 3 months, you're going to look like that, especially these guys making millions of dollars. They know what to eat. They know what to supplement their body with, and they can handle what they can handle to get right. Look at it. Look at all the dudes. It really gives people some confidence they can wrestle and get buff in their 40s. Randy, Christian, Edge, AJ Styles, all these dudes have put in work in their bodies, and they ended up looking buff, man. It's just great to see these guys and what they can do, especially nowadays, the advancements in working out and technology and legal hormones and all that shit. You can make yourself into a real buff dude, even in your 40s.
Yeah, and look, like you said, Christian's in his 50s and says he's in the best shape of his life. So
exactly.
Just to kind of highlight what you're saying. Look, and I agree with what you said. I think a heel AJ Styles is more fun than a face AJ Styles, right? It's a different character. Forever and a day, if you followed AJ Styles when he was in TNA, he was the consummate face until he turned heel. And then when he turned heel, or even when he turned to a gray character, he was probably his most interesting.
Yes.
When he goes to New Japan and he joins Bullet Club, he is his most interesting. So a heel AJ Styles is probably most interesting. I just, again, leaves you with a bit of a cliffhanger because you're like, I don't understand how this is working because what? Like they were the ones who put you on the shelf. It wasn't LA Knight who put you on the shelf. So it is weird to me that this is kind of where we're going with it. I don't necessarily mind it because it could be great. Like, look, LA Knight can move in the ring. AJ Styles can move in the ring. These guys can tell a great story. It'll be fantastic. LA Knight cuts fantastic promos. AJ Styles cuts really good promos. It should work. This should all work on paper. It should be really, really good. It'll be interesting to see how it unfolds, though. Was there anything else from SmackDown that really stood out to you? Because like I said, it was a really good SmackDown. I thought it moved well. Thought it was well paced. I thought it was really, really nicely bookended by Randy Orton and the Bloodline. And I thought we got some development there, as well as you got a returning AJ Styles at the very, very end. Was there anything that was in the middle that really stood out to you?
I thought Bayley's promo was interesting, the way it was produced and the way the others reacted to it. It was interesting. It was well done.
See, I want to talk about that. I'm glad you brought that up because I'm a little bit confused by that. Again, there was a lot of confusion with Friday Night SmackDown for me because I felt like we were on the verge of pushing Bayley out, and now we've given her a segment, we've given her a vignette where she is taking a lot of the claim and a lot of the praise for putting the group together, and everything's going according to her plan. But it seems like a lot of times it's not really her plan that's going on. It's everybody else's plan that's going on. So I was a little bit confused by this because I thought we were going to lean more into her getting pushed out. But this promo really seemed like it set the foundation that this is her group. What did you take out of the promo?
Yeah, it was kind of setting it up in regards to their vision for the future and looking at the opportunities that they've had, setting up basically Bayley putting over her group. But at the same time, you're recognizing that it probably now kind of cements maybe they're going to end. That this group is going to kick out. It's going to be, maybe setting up setting up Bayley to be the victim here. And that'll be the ultimate rebound. She's been a heel now for a couple years. It got close to the zenith of being, heel heat, but kind of fell short. I think Bayley kind of fits the narrative more of being a real popular face, and maybe now with Charlotte, with what her situation is, and you'll detail that later. Maybe you have an opportunity now for the ultimate rebound.
Yeah, you're right. We might. We'll see what happens. It'll be interesting to see if any of those rumors are true about Mercedes Moné possibly coming back to WWE, because my thought was we could finally get that 4 horsewoman match with Mercedes Moné coming back, Bayley getting turned on by her group, and then you could have Becky inserted into this feud as well because she's got heat with certain women in that group, and Charlotte obviously has heat with women in that group, so it would set up nicely for that 4 horsewomen match. It'll be interesting because, like you said, we're going to talk about Charlotte a little bit later on in the show, dealing with a bit of an injury, and she's been sidelined for a little bit, so I don't necessarily know where we go from there. I did not mean to interrupt you. Did not mean to sidetrack you. Anything else from SmackDown that you really liked?
Yeah, no, I'm thinking now, recapping the show, I thought the intro was good. Definitely moving forward, the matches that we got to see, I thought were definitely well placed. The crowd was real good. Seeing the Packers, it's always funny as a Lions fan, seeing the Packers in the crowd. Oh, man. Austin Theory kind of getting his groove back a little bit. I think that it's interesting, in that obviously he takes the loss to Kevin Owens, but you got a star there. You got another guy there that can be inserted and having his opportunity. The other thing we got to talk about, bro, Carmelo's a star.
Carmelo is a star.
He's a star. He can move. But I would say, being that it was his SmackDown debut, I thought Grayson handled himself very well. Whatever that thing he did with the leg off the top, which I know others have done before, that shit was cool, and Carmelo sold it. But that shit has the potential to be dangerous. So I'm not so certain he should be doing that, where he wraps his leg around a guy's head and then flips over, and the guy's got to kind of. I get it. You can do it easily because if you do it right, your leg's going to hit the ground before the guy's head. But it has the potential, if you're with somebody that doesn't know exactly what they're doing, you're going to cause injuries. But I thought Grayson Waller, if you just have a chance to catch a match that you don't think will deliver but does, Grayson Waller, Carmelo Hayes is 15 minutes of solid athletic wrestling with two dudes that have chemistry, taking it from NXT to the main roster.
Can I tell you the one problem I had with that match?
Sure.
The one problem I had with that match was Carmelo Hayes does a move off the middle rope, and he lands, and he's supposed to land awkwardly on his knee, or he was supposed to have jumped off the rope and twisted his knee a little bit.
Right.
He sold it for like
4 seconds.
I don't know, 15 seconds. Yeah. And then he never sold it again for the rest of the match.
Right.
And that, like, little things like that. And look, he's young, but little things like that bother me. It's like, you're going to show me something. I need you to stick with it. You need to keep up with it. I thought overall it was a fantastic match. I was highly entertained by that match, and I think you're right. Carmelo Hayes is a star. Grayson Waller did a fantastic job of putting him over and just did a great job. There is getting over, which Carmelo Hayes got over, and then there is there's being put over, which Carmelo Hayes got put over, and there's getting over. And I thought Grayson Waller helped get himself over in that match as well. That was a fantastic match, like you said. If you want to go watch one match, go watch that one. You wanna transition into AEW now?
Let's go, man. AEW, I thought put themselves in a nice position, some nostalgia, and had themselves a decent show this week.
Yeah, they did. I do want to start with some of the downs though. I want to get your take on the Golden Jets promo. You had the Golden Jets come out, cut a promo against Ricky Starks and Big Bill, and this promo didn't need to be on this show.
Right.
Like, we didn't have to have this. You could have saved yourself anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes. You didn't need this. It felt clunky. It felt junky. Kenny Omega at certain points looked so uninterested in what was going on. You had Chris Jericho trying to be corny Chris Jericho, and it just didn't work. I really felt bad for Ricky Starks and Big Bill, who had to take a lot of that and then had to try to pivot off of it and counter it. And look, the fans in the arena were not into this back and forth. They were just shy of completely booing it out of the building. The guys, the Golden Jets, tried getting stuff going, and it just all fell flat. It was so poor, and it was so badly done. But this is supposed to help set up a match for when Worlds Collide on December 30th. I just don't think we needed this. I don't think this was done well. I don't know who was pushing for what. Obviously, Chris Jericho and Kenny Omega have a lot of sway in the back. I thought this was just bad. And if you're just trying to get yourself on TV, that's not good for business. You're not doing what's right for the show, because this did need to be there. What did you think of the Golden Jets promo?
Yeah, it takes away from the tag team. It's like, man, it was disorganized. It's not what you'd expect from veterans. You would think veterans, even if they have an off promo, can deliver the message and move a feud forward. I just thought that, maybe from what we're hearing as to what's going on with Kenny Omega, there was some things maybe that will impact a performer. But I'm thinking that when you look at it, your job in any promo is to either build heat for the feud, get me to draw attention to what's going on, or to add a real element to a feud in order to establish that I want to see this match. Do I really want to see the Golden Jets against the tag team champions? Mildly interesting, but based on that promo, it didn't do anything to move it forward. And it was disappointing based on the caliber. You would think that now that these pros that have 50 years experience combined would be able to spit something out that's a little bit better and more organized. It just didn't deliver.
Yeah, it totally fell short, and it wasn't well done. I think the big thing was we had a 5-minute run over, right? 5 minutes longer than it normally is, the show is. And in the end, we got to see the devil.
Yes.
And I think the big talking point about this was, maybe did the devil reveal himself? The devil ends up showing up with his henchmen. They're attacking Hangman Page in the back. And next thing you know, they pick Hangman Page up and they slam him through the windshield of a Mercedes-Benz. And the reason that I bring that up is because, if you remember, Jack Perry, the whole thing that led to the debacle with CM Punk and him getting suspended was on the pay-per-view. He ends up slamming Hook through a windshield, and then he basically looks to the camera and he says, "That's real glass, go cry me a river." And then next thing you know, he's got a confrontation with CM Punk in the back, and next thing you know, both those guys are suspended, and then CM Punk is gone, and we've not heard anything about Jack Perry since. So was this the biggest reveal that the devil is actually Jack Perry?
Yeah, it's kind of like your mind doesn't want to believe it because you do want it to be a little bit bigger. But at the same time, you understand it. It's best for business. It'll allow for the situation in which you move his situation forward and you can rebound from one of the darkest times of his career, forcing a main event draw to leave the company. You give Jack Perry an element of something that's important. Let's see what he does with it. It just, to me, it's not big enough. That's just the feel. We're wrestling fans. We know what we like. It doesn't feel big, especially when people initially thought it was going to be CM Punk. So I just think that it's not going to be the best.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they end up doing with this, right? Because we've talked about it now for a couple of weeks, and if it is Jack Perry, it does kind of feel like it's a limp noodle. It doesn't do anything really for you. It's just kind of like, all right. I mean, it makes sense. And look, there is a ton of storyline that you can kind of run with. There's a lot that you can build off of here. They had their feud with their four pillars of AEW feud. They've had some back and forth. It'd be a good way to reincorporate him back into the company after a lengthy suspension. It would tell an interesting story, kind of the devils of MJF's past coming back to get him, all the things that he's done. But it wouldn't necessarily be the guy that I think we all necessarily want, or wouldn't be the guy that would really throttle the needle up. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. Again, I thought this was well done, and it gets everybody talking. Like, look, we're talking about this, and it gets you thinking. So they're doing a good job with that. I want to talk to you about the main event, because I thought the main event of Dynamite was absolutely fantastic. Main event of Dynamite was another one of these Continental Challenge Championship matches. This one was Jon Moxley versus Swerve Strickland. These are the two leaders of the blue group. Both of them sitting at 9 points going into this match. Whoever wins it is coming away with the extra point, or with the extra points, and is going to really help separate themselves. This was a really great back and forth match. This was really fantastic. I thought this wrestling was awesome. I thought going into this match, Swerve is supposed to be the heel. Fans are really behind Swerve. So Jon Moxley works a little bit more heel than he does face, which, again, two veterans in the ring realize what's going on, and they kind of lean into it, and they just kind of build a match around it. Thought it was fantastic. I thought the moves that they did and the sets that they did were really, really good. In the end, Jon Moxley rolls up Swerve Strickland, gets the 1, 2, 3. Swerve's shoulder was up, so I didn't understand that. The ref's looking right at it. Taz immediately calls it out. So I think it's going to be a storyline part of what we've got going on here. But Jon Moxley ends up escaping with a win. To me, this was surprising, because if you look at the way this tournament is set up, and these tournaments I feel like should be set up to really help build up your mid-card, right? Really help build up your mid-card, and maybe shine a light on one or two guys who you think have a lot of potential going forward that you could possibly see in a championship position later on. Instead, what you get is you've got the diehard of the company, Jon Moxley, just kind of running through everybody like a buzzsaw. Now, he had to work against Swerve, but he's run through everybody else in his bracket. And on the other side, you've got other guys, other big name guys like Bryan Danielson, kind of, for the most part, running through guys. To me, you're not really building up your mid card. You're not really shining the light on guys who could possibly be champions later on. I mean, if you look at the group of guys that are wrestling, you've got Jay White, you got Mark Briscoe, you've got Daniel Garcia, you've got Swerve Strickland. Whatever you think of Eddie Kingston is a fantastic promo, and I think he's a really good wrestler. I think Eddie Kingston at one point could be a championship caliber guy. But if anything, he should be built up in your mid card to not just be fodder. You've got a guy like Roosh who is fantastic. I don't know. I kind of feel like he has a bit of a ceiling on him, at least right now. But these are guys that you can build up to really beef up your upper part of your mid card and really help sell tickets and have interesting matches. But you've got guys like Jon Moxley running through all these guys. To me, I feel like you're using this challenge, this tournament, the wrong way. I feel like Swerve Strickland should have won this match. I feel like if anybody's coming out of this match looking like an absolute stud, it should be Swerve, because he is so hot right now. You look at a guy like Daniel Garcia, when he got into this, he was really, really hot. His dance move, his whole thing, it was over. There was a good storyline there between him and Daddy Magic, because Daddy Magic doesn't want him doing the dance move ever. There was story there. This has cooled all of that off for him. And now he's just taking losses. I don't understand necessarily what we're doing with this match or with this tournament. And I think it was really highlighted by this main event. Now, this main event was fantastic, and I loved it. Thought it was a great match to watch. But I don't think the right guy won. And again, I think there's a storyline here. But again, I think you need to be building guys like Swerve Strickland up and guys like Jon Moxley who have won your championship multiple times, who has been there, done that, who basically this is just like another little blip on his accomplishments list is if he wins this whole thing. It just, to me, it doesn't make sense for that guy to basically win this tournament. I don't know what we're doing. What were your thoughts on this main event? And do you kind of see things the way I see things, where this tournament is being utilized incorrectly?
Yeah, absolutely. It's popular. I thought that you're absolutely right. Swerve Strickland's a star. His entrance was great. I love the guy dancing in front of him. I thought it was great. Just timed right to have him, just a little bit of dancing before Swerve comes out. And it's just, is he a bigger star than Jon Moxley right now? No, but you need to kind of elevate him a little bit faster. But I get it, too, in that you recognize, too, that sometimes wins and losses are not important. When a guy struggles and still has a good showing, Jon Moxley is the biggest star in the company, so it's hard to have him take losses and put more people over. I get it, but you still need to. I think that Swerve definitely deserves to win this tournament. Also, too, Jay White, I think that you're not using him in the way that highlights him as the biggest star that he is, in terms of like you come in and your star is the brightest. Your star, basically, if you use a Madden rating, Jay White comes in at 100, and now he's at like at an 87. Same with Swerve. Yep. He started off in your company as a 67. He got himself up to 100. Now, a couple losses, you kind of have seen his stock. When we used to do the stock watch, you would say it's cooled off just a little bit in regards to what happened after AEW Dynamite this week. But he'll get it back, cuz. Look, don't worry. Swerve is going to, after the match that he had with Paige, the series that he's had, you can't hold a guy down. And the crowd eventually, the wise crowd, will eventually get him to the point where he's going to be one of the biggest guys in the company.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's just, to me, I feel like you have an opportunity here, right? You're not doing a whole ton with a whole lot of storylines. So you're giving us this tournament. You should be utilizing this correctly because, like you said, a guy like Jay White's like already out of contention, already out of running in this thing, and it's not even over yet. You got guys like Eddie Kingston, Daniel Garcia. They're already out of contention. This thing's not even over yet. So it's like, what are we actually doing with this tournament here? Like, these are guys you should be building up, and it feels like you're kind of tearing them down. It just doesn't necessarily make a whole lot of sense to me with how they're doing it and what they're trying to do. It'll be interesting to see what happens when we get to the finals and what all takes place. Again, Swerve is he's gotten himself to an extremely high level, and he is hot right now. So it'll be fantastic to kind of watch what he does going forward. Was there anything else from AEW that you wanted to talk about or that really stood out to you this week?
I still like what the women are doing. I think that there's opportunities that they're having to get more time. I feel like the champion Toni Storm doing her thing. I think she's really highlighting a lot of different things. I definitely always want to see Samoa Joe do his thing. I thought the opening was great with Hangman. I think Hangman now kind of got to repair himself a little bit and realize what he can bring to the table. Like I said, I thought AEW in totality, the collection that they had this week, really on Rampage too, was some nostalgia. Seeing a Von Erich in the ring.
Oh yeah, the Von Erichs. You want to talk about the Von Erichs? Yeah.
Yeah, real. It's they're young, they're raw, they're doing their thing. But it's nostalgia, and it's good for AEW to kind of always remember their history. And AEW.
You know what? I was just kind of going off the Von Erichs.
Yeah, real fast. I just want to say AEW definitely, one thing that they do outside of their production and where they're at, they definitely have the right respect for the history of wrestling.
Yes, I agree with that 100%. I thought that their segment on Dynamite was incredibly weird.
Yeah.
Basically, they were given less than 30 seconds to kind of talk. And look, I don't know if you've noticed this. MJF is in a pretty big movie that's coming out. He's in the movie Iron Claw.
Right.
And that was the whole reason for the Von Erichs being there, is because MJF is part of that movie. You didn't see MJF on Dynamite. I don't think they've done a good job of promoting MJF being in that movie. I don't think they've done a good job of getting MJF to sell that movie. If you look at all of the pictures that we see of MJF on the red carpet, It's all with WWE stars. There's no AEW stars. To me, it is weird. It's kind of, it's almost disjointed because like you're not putting your own guy over. Your guy who's in a big movie that is coming out. Now, look, what I understand and what I've heard is MJF had a lot of parts in what was shown to critics. His role in the part that was shown to critics has been drastically cut. And it sounds like he's not going to have very many speaking lines, if any at all. It seems like there was a very heavy edit on him in this movie. So it'll be interesting to see what takes place. But to me, it's weird. This was the whole thing. This is the one thing that was talked about in the periphery of AEW for a little bit now, was MJF doing this movie and MJF filming this movie and being part of it. And AEW has done nothing to acknowledge him being a part of it. You bring in the Von Erichs, who this story is about, and you give them 30 seconds on your main show, only to put them on your B show or probably your C show. And to me, I don't know necessarily what you're doing, because you're not really building up this movie like I feel like you should be. If this was a WWE thing, right? And just to kind of compare, WWE would be cramming this down your throat. You know, you'd have Michael Cole being like, hey, this Friday, we've got John Cena in The Pacifier. Go watch this movie. You know what I'm saying? Like, and you're like, oh, that's a crap movie. But this is actually a big deal. And this is supposedly, it's been highly rated from critics. And you've done nothing to push your biggest guy in one of his biggest moments outside of your company. I don't get it. It doesn't make sense to me. I'm sorry. I just went off on a tangent there. It was something that was...
No, it makes sense.
For some reason, it didn't make my list, and I don't know why. Obviously, I feel passionate about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's fair.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, it's very fair. It's very fair to say that you could do a lot more to highlight the guys that you have. But it feels like MJF is so highlighted that there's so much that they could do. If they miss something, I don't know if it's a big deal, especially when he's definitely telling a story of the Von Erichs, you know, from a company that's before AEW. You know what I mean? So it'll be maybe a highlight package, but you know, in a situation, I just want to see MJF on the show doing his thing and being part of the show and highlighting the right people. And AEW's getting there, you know, obviously coming to a close. I do think the storylines have to pick up, and I think they realize that the direction of the company creatively has to be reviewed in the new year.
Yeah, I think creatively they've got to kind of reach into their bag a little bit and find something a little bit more entertaining. We love the wrestling. Wrestling is fantastic, but you also have to intertwine some good storylines to keep us hooked and keep us wanting to watch. Speaking of wanting to watch, what was your show of the week? What's the one show that took place this week that you would still want to watch?
It would be Raw. 3 hours, all good. Bronson Reed elevating his stock watch is through the roof. I think that's a future star, dude. You got to make sure you highlight him in what you do moving forward. Randy Orton, SmackDown, definitely you give definitely an honorable mention to. But Seth, when you have Seth Rollins and CM Punk stare at each other for what would have been 60 seconds to 75, and you want to see more of it, that tells me you got something there. And I thought that Adam Pearce handled himself well, getting himself in the shot, and you recognize that this is a feud for the ages. People want to see it, and it was timed perfectly. I'm with Raw. Seth Rollins' music hits, and the wrestling was great. You even, like I said, a show so big that the main event is kind of overshadowed. That makes it a real good show.
Yeah, you're right. And look, that the Nakamura match with Cody Rhodes was really good. There was a lot of really good storytelling, and there was a lot of really good matches on Monday Night Raw. I'm going to agree with you. I'm going to give the point to Raw as well. Quick programming note. We will be taking a bit of a Christmas break. We will not be here next week, but we will be here before New Year's to get you all set up for AEW's pay-per-view that's taking place on December 30th. We'll be back to kind of review that and run that down for you. But quick programming note, no show next week. Just want to make sure everybody's aware. Are you ready for some news and notes?
Hit me with this week's professional wrestling news and notes. What made your list?
It's back. Last week, we reported that WWE ran into some issues with the usage of the word yeet, with it being reported that there were trademark issues over the term. Not only was Jey Uso unable to use the word, while things were being ironed out, but it was also blurred during a video package for Jey Uso versus Seth Rollins on December 4th's edition of Monday Night Raw. Yeet, however, is back, and Jey Uso can use his catchphrase again. You even seen Jimmy Uso use it on Friday Night SmackDown. These wrestlers could be added to the growing list of hot free agents in 2024. Many top stars are set to have contracts expiring in 2024, including Drew McIntyre, Kazuchika Okada, Becky Lynch, and Deonna Purrazzo, among the many. Let's add one more big name. According to Fightful Select, Seth Rollins' contract is set to come up in June of 2024, and there have been no current discussions regarding the extension as of a couple of weeks ago. Currently, the contracts of both Rollins and his wife Becky Lynch are due in June of 2024. Fightful asked a WWE official who said they would not dispute Rollins' contract being up next year and said that he'll be made a priority. Now, AEW and WWE sharing, that sounds weird, right? They don't like each other and they're not sharing anything. Well, there is a report that AEW and WWE could share the same television home. Triple H was among a team of WWE executives who met with Warner Brothers Discovery this week to speak about a potential TV rights deal. The recent report indicated that a deal for TV rights for Monday Night Raw will be finalized pretty soon. It was noted that a WWE deal with Warner Brothers Discovery isn't completely out of the question, with CM Punk's return to WWE believed to have opened up what many have believed a door being closed. Mike Johnson of PW Insider has provided further detail of the recent meeting between WWE and Warner Brothers Discovery, noting that WWE Chief Content Officer Triple H and WWE President Nick Khan met with Warner Brothers Discovery Chief Revenue and Strategy Officer Bruce Campbell for several hours on Monday, December 11th. Johnson wrote, "This past Monday morning, TKO's Mark Shapiro, as well as WWE's Nick Khan and Paul Levesque, were in New York City at the Warner Brothers Discovery headquarters, meeting with Warner Brothers Discovery executive Bruce Campbell about potentially moving Raw to the Warner Brothers family. Campbell holds the position of Chief Revenue and Strategy Officer. We are told that WWE contingent met with Campbell for several hours Monday morning, with at least part of the meeting taking place in a conference room usually reserved for David Zaslav. Warner Brothers Discovery owns TBS, TNT, and the home of AEW Dynamite, Rampage, and Collision." Remember, David Zaslav loves CM Punk. In an update from House Wrestling, the vibe given is that AEW is in danger of not being renewed by Warner Brothers Discovery for TNT or TBS. One scenario given to House of Wrestling was that WWE Raw would move to TNT or TBS, with AEW moving on to Discovery. Two higher up sources in AEW said that the rumors were news to them and that they were not something that they had heard, with another saying that the only person who really knows is David Zaslav. It would be interesting if Raw moves to one of these television stations. Remember, we reported a couple weeks ago that if WWE is on a channel, they basically have it written in their contract that there is no other wrestling on that channel. They are the only wrestling show on that channel. So if you were to see WWE move to TBS, that would remove Dynamite from the picture. Dynamite would probably move to TNT, and then you'd probably move Rampage and Collision to Discovery, if that was the case. There'd be some shuffling that would go on probably if AEW was to remain with Warner Brothers Discovery. This massive AEW star is sidelined indefinitely. On Friday, Kenny Omega took to social media to post and let everyone know that he was on the shelf indefinitely. A report has come out that he was dealing with a lot of pain and wrestling through it for a while. The report stated that Omega was diagnosed with diverticulitis. This is the same thing that affected Brock Lesnar years ago. So it's something that you can recover from, but it is incredibly painful to deal with and will sideline you for a while. Apparently, Kenny Omega couldn't keep working through this. He was struggling a lot. And if you go back and you look at what took place on Dynamite, when we said he looked kind of disinterested and checked out, it sounds like he was very uncomfortable. Like physically, he was very uncomfortable. So it'll be interesting to see what takes place going forward with Kenny. We wish him all the best. Sticking with injuries, this WWE star is sidelined for 9 months due to a misstep in last week's match against Asuka. Charlotte is on the shelf for the next 9 months due to a knee injury, per Michael Cole on Friday night's SmackDown. kind of an awkward situation. She goes to the top rope. There's a bit of a misstep between her and Asuka. It looks like Asuka's kind of falling and kind of grabs onto Charlotte. Charlotte's foot slips and gets kind of caught over the rope as she's falling into the ring. Hopefully she gets well as well. And finally, this WWE star got caught getting high. Friday afternoon, it was reported that Liv Morgan was arrested after being pulled over. According to the police report, her vehicle smelled of marijuana, leading to a search of the vehicle where synthetic marijuana, which I'm not sure if those are bath salts or not, and drug paraphernalia was found. Morgan was then arrested and booked by the police. A lot of interesting memes going around with Liv Morgan's mugshot. Probably one of the prettiest mugshots you'll see. But that's going to do it for this week's wrestling news and notes.
We still arresting people for weed? Professional wrestlers? I mean, at this point in Florida, they should have been like, "Oh, Liv, what's going on? Less than 20, girl, put that away." And like, hey, take a photo with me. No, I mean, come on. Is anybody going to care if, a cop is taking a picture with Liv Morgan? It's really ridiculous. I thought, when I first sent it to you guys, I thought it was a little bit more. But then when I sent you, it was funny. Our group text is funny. We debate. We laugh at each other. And then most of the time it's me sending Kenny and Adam stupid shit. And this time I'm like, oh, she got arrested. And then I sent it to him. And then I go back and read the details. I'm like, what the fuck? That wasn't even worth me sending it. It's like, but
it was big news though. It was big news.
No, but a mugshot. No, it has to make the show. And a lot of times too, it's just information that Adam could potentially use for the show. So you have to send news anytime you get it. But I look at it and I say, anytime you get a mugshot out there, it definitely highlights that something good is not going on. It's not good. It's not, it's kind of like one of those things where it's going to happen. Triple H will wrap his arm around Liv and be like, look, girl, I get it. Don't get your ass in the papers. Get back to work. Can't be doing that. You know what I mean? And it's just WWE is a publicly traded big company, and you can't have. It's just bad PR. It's bad look for you when you're getting arrested, especially with a mugshot. Especially when you're, you got to respect what you're doing. And for Liv Morgan, it's not a good look, but it happens, and hopefully she learns her lesson, and this will be a blip on the radar. Make sure you follow Adam on Twitter at AdamRSCharles. Follow the network at Detroit Podcast. If you've agreed or disagreed with anything that we've said, hit us up. Let us know what you're thinking. Appreciate guys like Adam S. checking in all the time with his opinions on what he thinks angles should be. It's always fun to debate sports and debate professional wrestling. Make sure that you hit us up at Detroit Podcast anytime you want. And if you're a big fan of podcasts like Adam and I are, make sure you type in Detroit Sports Podcast, and our content will find you. You just hit that subscribe button, and our weekly content, including DocNJock, a great Michigan podcast, and the weekly breakdown of the world of professional wrestling, can be found on the DocNJock Wrestling Podcast. Podcasting time is over. Let's check back in close to the new year, and let's fill in and enjoy the holidays, everybody. Can't wait to break down wrestling in a couple weeks with my guy, Adam, the Jock Strozinski. See ya!